David Cameron sits bolt upright in his Brexit deathbed. Not even the photograph of his beloved Fred West can calm him, but luckily his ever-attentive butler, Jacob Rees-Mogg, is at hand to calm his jangled nerves, for he has an unexpected guest, Mr. Danny Dyer, who is not alone. He has brought with him the terrifying spectre of Scary Bungle. Steve McFadden stares bleakly, unblinking, at this scene of abject terror, whilst our Scylla cowers amongst the crusty tissues and well-worn copies of Pig Farmer Weekly. Luckily, the happy little chap with the large marrow, Kim Jong-un, is at hand to add some much-needed levity to this scene of utter horror. Oh, the horror, the horror, the horror. It's the morning after the night before. Our Scylla looks down from the flat above. Her downstairs neighbours made a Laura noise last night. Why wasn't she invited to the party? Anyway, the clean-up begins. There's Peter Beardsley. Sweeper? I always thought he was a midfielder. Mick Hucknall had a good night last night. He's woken up stark naked. Still got his shades on, though. Always playing it cool is our Mick. And there's Dirty Den. He was at the party in spirit last night. Here he is in happier times, indulging in webcam lols. Ooh, Theresa May's not happy. That snivelling little worm, Michael Gove, is playing the Trump bone. He was hogging the Trump bone all last night as well. Theresa couldn't get a look in. Sir Amstrad Sugar has woken up. He had a good night last night. He had an encounter with a young lady. He can't remember her name, but she had porcelain skin and curly ginger hair, and kept saying something about holding back her ears or something. There's Steve McFadden, looking the worse for wear. He got into an argument last night, probably with himself. And there's the happy little chap, Kim Jong-un, never happier than when he's amongst friends. Or murdering an uncle with an anti-tank missile. Well, there we have it. The morning after the night before, just before our party-goers do the walk of shame home. What a night. The Sun has got his hat on, and so has Phil Mitchell himself, Steve McFadden, standing in the middle of a field at a music festival. And there's Bungle. And there's another Bungle. And there's another Bungle. That's 3 Bungai. I know what this is. This must be a scene from this year's Glastonbugle Festival. Look, there's Theresa May, heading off to another field. She must have spotted some wheat. Naughty. Oh dear, what's this? Someone's left an open can of Old Oak gammon ham out in the sun. That's going to go off if it hasn't already. Best get it covered up. Oh, there he is, the happy little chap, Kim Jong-un. Normally when he's in the middle of a field, it's because he's having a relative assassinated. Lol. There's our Scylla. She looks a bit intense. Intense. Soz. Oh, look, it's that randy old codger from Last of the Summer Wine. No, not her, him. There's not much wine around here, but there's plenty of cheap lager. That's Mom, of course. She must be here to declare this year's Glastonbugle Festival open. Oh, look, there's Pete Doherty, getting stuck into a bungle-sized big breakfast. Come on, Pete, get up on stage. The music fans want to hear you play all your hits, such as... I can't remember any. Oh well, probably neither can he. Oh look, and who's this? It's Chris Grayling. He's the bungle of politics. Minus the fur, the popularity, and the business acumen. Well, I'll let you enjoy this scene and see who you can spot. There's plenty to see and do at this year's Glastonbugle Festival. Enjoy. Have you got that Brexit-sinking feeling as the dark waters rise? That snivelling little worm Michael Gove is oblivious. But not our Scylla. She senses the impending doom. Surprise, surprise. Bozo waves a Union flag that's fading and in tatters, whilst Britain sinks and the Union divides because of Bozo, Cameron and their Brexit twatters. As the dark waters rise, Chris Grayling waits for a ferry that will never come. EastEnders Phil and Corrie's Kev watch in horror, but at least the happy little chap, Kim Jong, is still having fun. Ian Duncan Smith laughs out loud, whilst Simples yells Theresa May. These self-serving sociopathic cretins and Brexit bungles need kicking out come next election day. Have you got that Brexit-sinking feeling as the dark waters rise? It's our Scylla through the looking-glass, wondering whether to enter this bizarre realm. Come on, step inside, love. Here's Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother of Queen Elizabeth, a kind of human palindrome. She's teamed up with Theresa May to challenge Sam Allardyce and grown-up Walter the Softy from the Beano, Jacob Rees-Mogg, to a game of Scotch egg snooker, or, as it's more commonly known, snook egg. Come on, Theresa, your turn seems to be taking forever, and the shots you're taking are about as straight as the answers you don't give at PMQs. Your turn should have been over a long time ago. To be fair, the only cues Theresa May is familiar with are the ones outside of her food banks. Luckily, the next player is limbering up, ready to take over and show you how to play the game fairly. What's this wispy apparition hiding there like that ghost caught on camera in the background of the film 3 Men and a Baby? Why, it's Kim Yo-jong, younger sister of the happy little chap himself, Kim Jong-un. And there he is, happy as ever. He's probably speaking to Simon Cowell to ask him where he gets his built-up shoes. Or he could be speaking with EastEnders Phil, Steve McFadden, though he appears to be talking into his wallet. Well, they do say money talks. That's an odd, confused-looking, slippery creature. Oh, and there's a beluga whale. Looks like Bozo Johnson has been sick in the bath. He won't be cleaning that up, just like the time he shit the bed of the UK, by curling out a steaming pile of his Brexit lies and then resigning, running away to let someone else clean up his foul, stinking mess. What a scene. Snook egg loopy. Eggshellant. It's the Gammon Ball Run. Nigel Farage's march to leave the EU. Though with so much gammon on parade, if anyone turns up, it's going to be more of a lardy-gras. It won't actually be much of a march, of course, just a bit of walking down the road for the cameras, and then back onto the coach and off to the nearest pub. The toad on the road seems to think that reenacting the Jolly Boys outing from Only Fools and Horses, minus the laughs and with added thinly veiled racism, will somehow guarantee the UK leaves the EU on March 29th. Careful, Nige, the dangerous Duke of Edinburgh's back on the road again. He is to driving what Chris Grayling is to politics. He's a dark rogue, old Phil. When he's not having accidents of his own, He's arranging for someone he wants out of the way to have a little accident. That's Phil Mitchell I'm talking about there, of course. I have to say that for legal reasons. There's our Scylla. She's got her beady eye on Big Sam's table. Watch out, Sam. If Scylla wants your table, she's having it, whether you've reserved it or not. Leaving the EU will mean closer ties with the US and the oath of office himself, Donald Trump, though I don't see how Farage could get any closer to Trump. Nigel is in competition with Piers Morgan to see who can get their nose the furthest up Trump's rump. When the three of them get together, it must be like some kind of horrific Y-shaped gammon human centipede. That's a haunting image which will linger in the mind long after March 29th. Let's peruse this potpourri of popular personalities. Oh dear. There's that sadistic, deluded, emotionless psychopath who has taken the lives of many vulnerable people and shown a complete lack of remorse on the death and misery they've inflicted. And there's Fred West. Here's Bozo Johnson, a man who clearly likes to spread his legs, as much as he likes spreading his wild oats, casual racism, and Brexit lies. Lol. There's soused-up snooker supremo Big Bill Werbeniuk, known for sinking the pints whilst sinking the snooker balls. He's potted himself a fine pair of brown leather slip-ons. 4 points for the colour, top marks for style. Next to Bill we have the modern-day Shakespeare himself, the humble Kanye West, who has enriched all our lives with profoundly moving lyrics, such as, "Don't try and treat me like I ain't famous. My apologies. Are you into astrology? 'Cause, I'm trying to make it to Uranus." A passionate, romantic declaration, which would not seem out of place in the sonnets of Romeo and Juliet. Looks like Michael Barrymore has struck it lucky, successfully landing an old toad by drone on top of a droning old toad. There's the happy little chap Kim Jong-un, standing next to a rather angry-looking Phil from EastEnders, Steve McFadden. McFadden's massively miffed that our Scylla is having to sit on the floor. Anyone who had a heart should surely stand so Scylla can sit on the settee. So, who will go down in history as the best West? Kanye or Fred? It's a tough call and a fierce debate that looks set to continue for many years to come. Phil Mitchell is storming off in a huff. He clearly didn't appreciate Ian Beale's "here's that sick squid I owe you" gag. Look at the state of that. Not fit for purpose, absolutely useless, and a complete waste of space. That table's not looking too good either. Old Nige appears to be having a post-coital cigarette after some toad-on-toad action. I don't think that was the sort of frog's porn Victorian-era grown-up Walter the Softy from the Beano, Jacob Rees-Mogg, was after for his garden pond. There's a smiling Diana, the people's princess remembering happier times before she kissed a prince who turned into a toad. Oh dear, our Scylla doesn't seem too pleased with her blind date, which is a bit of a surprise, as our Kim Jong is normally Mr. Lols aplenty. I think everyone's a bit annoyed that they trusted the booking of the 5-star luxury holiday villa to Chris Grayling. Theresa May is happy, though. That squid is going to come in very handy back at the Cabinet Office. She'll poke it with a stick when it comes time to ask for a show of hands of how many Cabinet members support her Brexit deal. Plus, Theresa May needs all the ink she can get hold of to use for the endless flow of cheques that she needs to write to cover Chris Grayling's cretinous, costly, constant cock-ups. And of course, for the next time, she needs to shake the magic money tree that only sheds large cheques for important things like bribing the DUP or for her struggling town's Brexit bribe, and not for frivolous, unimportant things like the NHS, policing, education, or homelessness. LOL. Steve Phil Mitchell McFadden looks down at the sad sight of E.T. in a ditch, whilst Nigel Farage's gammon ball run continues on its oblivious, xenophobic way. In a recent interview for Razzle magazine, Farage revealed he would certainly have turned E.T. into the authorities had he discovered the diminutive extraterrestrial in the shed of his upmarket West London property. Farage explained, "We see undocumented, illegal aliens risking life and short limb as they cross the galaxy to come to our planet, under the guise of carrying out scientific tests and collecting specimens of our plant life. Yet we don't know what their true intentions are. Under cover of a so-called reconnaissance mission to find out about our world, they want to send infiltrators into our midst to take over planet Earth." This extraterrestrial, or E.T., who knows where he is right now? Back on his homeworld, still in America, somewhere in Europe, or even at Calais, trying to enter the UK. Any normal and fair-minded person would have a perfect right to be concerned if they opened their walk-in wardrobe and found an E.T. dressed in a wig, skirt, jewellery and a little hat, with his glowing finger resurrecting our dead flowers, flying bike rides, and constant demands for telecommunication. I believe that the British people have seen quite enough. I believe that they want an immigration policy that says no to those whose skills we do not need, such as telepathy and telekinesis, and that gives an emphatic denial of entry to those we have any suspicion want to do us or our planet harm. The namby-pamby Elliots and Gerties of this world want an open solar system policy, throwing open wide the doors to the Milky Way, saying, "Come to planet Earth, eat all our M&Ms, and do what you like with our speak and spell." Can you imagine what the M4 will be like with kids flying around on bikes with an E.T. in the front basket? Farage continued, "When E.T. went to hospital for life-saving treatment, who foot the bill? That's right, the taxpayer. You and me. We have a national health service, not an interplanetary health service." Farage went on, "I must admit, I cried at the end of E.T. because he didn't die. If he had died, tragic though that would have been, it would have sent a clear message to other ETs wanting to come here. It could cost you your life. Don't come to Earth and phone home. Stay home." Frankly, if you open your door to uncontrolled immigration from worlds beyond our solar system, you are inviting planet Earth's destruction. Farage concluded, "I've been a fan of Razzle since I found a copy in a hedge near our local park as a young lad. I believe that the discovery of a discarded copy of Razzle in a hedgerow, woods or plot of waste ground is a great British tradition and rite of passage that is in danger of being wiped out due to the EU tax on jazz mags. That's why during the Gammon Ball run I will be secreting as many copies of Razzle as I can in bushes, hedges, parks and wooded areas along the way. No EU toss tax is stopping this toady tosser tugging his tadpole." Well, it looks like the Peter Pan of pop, Cliff Richard, is looking as concerned as we are at the apparent lack of our Cilla Black in this scene. WTF? It's popular paranormal personality Uri Geller versus unpopular devoid of personality Theresa May in The Battle of Brexit. Known for his crimes against cutlery, Uri Geller recently wrote a letter to Theresa May telling her he was going to stop Brexit with the power of his mind. Though, if his mind is that powerful, I'd have thought Geller could have saved himself the cost of a stamp and informed May of his intentions by sending her this message telepathically. I imagine Geller keeps his slim physique quite by accident, as it must be nigh on impossible for him to finish a meal without his cutlery curling up like a pretzel and spilling the majority of his dinner down his shirt. He should follow Big Sam's lead and get himself a bib. Lol. There's miniature musical mod Roger Daltrey, the pint-sized pop performer, has been vocal in his support for Brexit and is anxious to leave the EU. So you won't hear Daltrey talking about another referendum. He'd rather have a Brexit wasteland. Oh yeah! Roger is aware that Brexit means more American food imports, such as their infamous chlorinated chicken. Surely the UK deserves better than having to stomach America's poultry, Daltrey. Our Scylla looks rightfully concerned, as rather than belay Brexit, Uri Geller seems to have summoned High Priest of the Great Old Ones, Cthulhu, the slimy subterranean character from the books of H.P. Lovecraft. Or it could be that other slimy hideous creature appearing from his subterranean dwelling, Michael Gove, emerging to make his bid for Tory leadership. So who will win the Battle of Brexit? The ego-driven, deluded fantasist who blinkeredly believes in their narcissistic, overblown sense of self-importance, despite evidence constantly debunking their claims of success in their actions and abilities? Or Uri Geller,